Welcome to episode 164 of Drew Sports Crew here on this Tuesday night. Yes, I know, not the usual time, not the game plan either. This week just has how it's gone. This just ended up being the best time from an internet outage yesterday to waiting till after the Bucks got done, which Bucks got done well after 11 here or right around there. It was a very late game, right? 8:30 tip. We expected that they tip later with the Thriller in New York, and with that game, but that kind of just overall impacted how this was just overall how the recording schedule looked this week. Look, I'm happy to be back to talk after just a thrilling night in Wisconsin sports. Two victories for the Brewers and the Bucks. Each get a victory, make it two. We have some fireworks in the Brewer game. One, because Willie Adames hit a home run. Yes, I know I'm funny. But two was the brawl between Abner Uribe and Jose Siri. I'll break that down. I'll talk a little bit about last night as well. Last night, there's some things going on. Right, we get to see some ejections. Back-to-back nights of ejections for Murphy. Love it. Big Murph. We're going to start with the Bucks. It's fresh on the mind. Okay. So this week, we came into the series talking last week. It was after actually game one's thrilling victory. The talk, right? We collectively were discussing, right? Okay, 15-point win coming out of Dame looked great. You know, if you have Dame for a 7-game series, we felt like the Bucks were going to win in 5 or 6. So that kind of turned, right, for the worst, I'd say. So they lose Tuesday. They deserve to lose Tuesday. That was the one they lost by 17, 125, 108. That was the game 2 at home. You get to game 3. That one you lose in overtime. Middleton has one of his best playoff games. It's hard to pick because he's had so many great playoff games, but Dame gets hurt late in that one. You feel as if you had Dame, 100% healthy. That's where he had the Achilles injury occurred at the end there. They didn't really talk about it a lot till after the game, which we didn't really realize. That was a game you felt they should have won. I don't know. That game's a turning point because instead, right where they're at, instead of being down 3-2, being up 3-2, like that's just a huge swing. That game was just tough. Really thought the Bucks could have won that one. That was one you just look back and shake your head. Game 4 is the disaster game. They lose by 13. So like, okay, they lost more in game 2. They lose by 17. But the thing in that one was just nothing was going right defensively, schematically for the Bucks. It was wide open threes they allowed left and right. They allowed a total of 22 threes in that game. You're not going to win many, especially in the playoffs. You're not going to win any if you allow that many threes at a 51% clip. What happened in this one was, right, we saw you all saw the Bobby Portis ejection early. My thoughts were, he may have been I wouldn't even say the aggressor. He may have done more hostile acts than the other individual, right? In this case, wasn't it Nemhard, I believe. But the point is, he may have completed more hostile acts. However, I don't want to say the cliche phrase in the playoffs, but it didn't feel like it was enough of an increase of a hostile act to make it a ejection per se. In my opinion, obviously it was more. So they deemed, okay, well, because it was more, what's the next thing we can do? And the next thing actually ended up being the ejection. So that's kind of maybe where they sided with. Game 4 was the Brook Lopez game. Nothing was going right for a lot of people other than Malik Beasley. I'd say Andre Jackson Jr. too. He played a great 25 minutes. But really Beasley and Lopez offensively were the top guys. Middleton still poured in a great game, 25 points. No, I really wanted to touch on. Okay. One was Danilo Gallinari had to play 13 minutes, which at this stage in the career, Gallinari maybe can have some impactful minutes, but not in a road playoff game. Didn't think that was ideal. Obviously, you want to put a vet out there. Andre Jackson Jr., his +9 in that game was the highest amongst every player on the Bucks with a +9 plus minus. He played the most impactful 25 minutes out of every single Buck. He had 7 assists, he had 6 rebounds, a throw in 6 points. He just made a lot of hustle plays. I mean, it was kind of like it was Josh Hart-esque. So with the Knicks, right? Josh Hart. He just was kind of like making a lot of hustle plays, poured in a stats line where it was like, okay, he didn't do a whole lot of he didn't score a lot, he didn't get a whole lot of rebounds, but I mean he just did a decent amount of everything in 25 minutes, very balanced. You just kind of felt an extra burst of energy with him on the court. I think Doc, right? I mean, not playing him as well as the other rookies early in his coaching tenure with the Bucks, but also here in the playoffs. Now I think realizing, hey, I got to open the bench more up. And that's what we saw in Game 4, especially with the Bobby Portis ejection. Game 5 in Milwaukee. This was win or go home for the Bucks. And they showed up. I mean, this was the best defensive game for them, maybe even including game 1. Because I mean, it felt like the Pacers missed a lot of open shots in game 1. This was the best game for the Bucks they've collectively played in this postseason, I'd say. I mean, of course, game 1 you'd pick it, but like first and second half. I mean, minus the first quarter, but like quarters 2 through 4 for the Bucks were like this. This was great. It started with condensing and in the paint, making them uncomfortable in the paint, which that's where the Pacers thrive also there, as well as the 3-point arc. The Bucks they shot 51% game 4. Or it was and here they shot 31%. It was 12 of 38 in this one. Kept them off the free throw line. The Bucks also forced 12 turnovers. Kind of good recipes for success. They win the turnover battle. They finally had more offensive rebounds. Oh, I didn't even mention that in that overtime loss, game 3. Yikes. That's the biggest head scratcher. The Bucks beat themselves there too. I mentioned some of the things where you felt they could have won. It was offensive rebounds. They gave the Pacers like 3 possessions in one possession multiple times. Like this was it was something you see in college. I mean, that's the level I put it at, maybe even high school. Like that's what we were watching with the level of rebounding efficiency. No, this Bucks game, this was crazy. This game 5. I love this game. This is why I had to wait till after. I mean, as it made sense to. Okay, 1, Pat Bev and Bobby Portis keep hitting the too small celebration. They keep going right to it. It's for me, it's the greatest. Right, this is the greatest thing. It's a playoffs. Thankfully, Pat Bev didn't do it right into the guy's face as he got a tech for it in game 4. As did I believe it was Siakam who got one for taunting as well. So just kind of those that just keep that in line is something the Bucks need to do. But and Pat Bev tonight, right? I mean, start off in his hot second quarter where he had 12 points, I believe. 12 of his 13 points. Yeah, 12-point quarter. Wow, it's Pat Bev. No, he hit Tyrese Haliburton, right? Got him up in the air, made the layup, count the basket and one. Pat Bev just hits the too small celebration. Basically takes a bow. Come on, that was vintage stuff. No, I mean this game, the plus minuses, the overall stat sheet just speaks for itself. The Bucks played phenomenal. I mean, they shot 52% from the field. Bobby put up 29. So Bobby with a redemption game, right, was really upset after game 4, the antics, the so on. Revenge game, redeem himself game, 29 and 10 with an assist and a steal. Bobby Portis plus 30 plus minus. He was second on the team to Pat Bev. Pat Bev in 36 minutes plus 36. The Bucks were the Bucks were crazy efficient with him on the court. It was like if I told you that earlier this year that in a playoff game, Pat Bev would lead your team in plus minus but also have a double-double, 13 points, 12 assists. I don't know. I don't think you'd believe me. He had a block and 2 steals. Um, he was the Bucks' most impactful player in a playoff game. Pat Bev. What if I told you that before the season? Patrick Beverly. I don't know. Crazy to think about, but good to see. Danilo Gallinari had an impactful 21 minutes too. Plus, I didn't realize plus minus would have been plus 15. You noticed him in the rebounds. He was crashing the glass. That was kind of what the Bucks needed too. We talk about the rebounding being the struggle in this series so far for them. Didn't need Ajax to play as well. Andre Jackson, 7 minutes only for him, or AJ Green rather. You relied heavily on the starters as they did. You win by 23. This was the defense. This was the best defensive game for the Bucks. They really, again, honed in. They forced a lot of contested 3-point shots, which is what you want from a young Pacers team like this. They really did a great job with that. Brook Lopez also played, right, like pick and rolls and how he's played more in coverage. They weren't able to just exploit that as other teams have and as they have earlier in the series as well. And a solid game for Brook too, nonetheless. 12 points, 3 rebounds. Right, it was good. 2 blocks. Played his role at this point. And you liked what you saw. Middleton, I even talked about 29 as well, tied for the lead in scoring. Bucks win after being, what were they, 4-point underdogs at home. They win by 23. They win outright. Yeah, that's a win. Pat Bev, too small. No, this is just fun. So many Bucks fans were worried about Game 5, including myself. We got a Game 6. We got Game 6. Game 6 we are gifted with at 5:30 p.m. on Thursday. That game is in Indianapolis. So just keep that in mind. I got to talk about it before we go to Brewers. They, right, with the injury report and so on, Dame and Giannis were doubtful again in this one. Okay, Dame was putting shots up before. Giannis was getting his shots at. I was reading and watching more of Doc Rivers' media availability on this. It seems almost Giannis might be available before Dame with how the Achilles has gone for Dame. He was shooting a little bit before the game. He looked a little in pain. But that would be an interesting development. They've had Giannis in now over 2 weeks. And now with Dame, they had him for the first few games of the playoffs. I don't know how the dynamic will be. You especially love Dame. Where this team has had, the Bucks especially being this shorthanded. Just even tonight, I mean, they went by 23. There was still a couple times where Pat Bev was bringing the ball up, and you're just like, oh boy. Pat Bev is a ball handler, yes, but you definitely want the ball in Dame's hand. And at this point in the playoffs, and especially late game, nonetheless. Again, Game 6 Thursday in Indianapolis. That's going to be the toughie, right? I mean, that's the one. Cool. They won this one. You go a game at a time, but this is the one where, okay, well, the odds makers we know are going to have them being almost, if Dame and Giannis are out, double-digit underdogs almost, probably 8, 9-point underdogs. This is going to be the tough one. Saturday, though, then at home. Come on. I don't know. Depending what that game is, Game 7, I should probably go. I think that's the right thing to do. Dame Giannis, I hope one of them's back. That's what we're hoping on right now. My guess is on Thursday. Ooh, my guess. Just got kicked from the screen. Can you see me? You hear me? Okay, cool. We're back. Thursday, Saturday. My guess is Giannis, Dame, unavailable Thursday. I like to say Saturday for Game 7, someone's available. Whether it's Giannis, whether it's Dame, I think if you get to Game 7 in a playoffs, especially first round, it'll be interesting. They play the winner of the New York and then Philly series. That series has gotten interesting after tonight. Philly wins. Philly's got Game 6 at home. They could take that to 7. Oh, if New York blows a 3-0 lead, that would be interesting. That'd be funny. It would be. Hopefully Indiana blows the 3-1 lead. That's the 3-1 lead we care about getting blown though first. But that's all I got right now for the Bucks. Thrilling Game 5 win sets up a intriguing Game 6. The status of our stars are in question. Impact players from the young guys, and then also right our savvy vets having the big games in Game 5. That is the summary there. Let's go over to the Brewers. Okay, this one was something. Right. I mean, talk about last night was a whole lot of nothing. It really was. It was a 1-0 loss. This weekend. I didn't even talk about this like this whole past week. Like Brewers haven't played great. They salvaged somehow that series in Pittsburgh. I didn't think they were going to do it. Come back home to New York. They win that game Friday. They sneak that one out. Saturday and Sunday rough for the pitching staff. Sunday is the frustrating one. The Aaron Judge slide, of course, is the one that comes to mind, as that led to 7 runs that would not have been scored. I do think the Brewers, nonetheless, I know if you just 15 minus 7, that you get 8, but that doesn't always mean anything. 8-5. I do still think the Yankees would win this one, win the Sunday game. So I'm upset that call should not have happened. The Brewers did get screwed. That's a reality. That's a fact. The umpires admitted it. However, I don't know if the Brewers still with that call, if it goes their way, if they win that game. So I can live with it. This Tampa series so far has been something. Monday was annoying, right? I mean, that whole 9th inning, how that broke down. You thought the Brewers should have had it. Jake Bauer swings at a pitch in the dirt. Backswing interference because catcher's lunging forward. So that's how it ended up being. Backswing interference is how it was. And here it was a swing, strike, out. Set the runner back. There was a discrepancy between how the call was and the mechanic of the call. So what I mean by that is the call almost looked like, it was send the guy back to first, like dead ball. Was kind of how I perceived the mechanic at first in the game, and ended up being right after. Of course, he did the out symbol to and point at the runner, so we knew he was out. But just the initial mechanic was more of like it seemed like it was going to be a dead ball scenario. So I see why Pat Murphy was upset. But we also could see too with how the game, how it was supposed to be handled, even though there's that exception to the rule, it was actually handled correctly. So based on how the mechanics were, just okay, strike, because as the batter did strike at the ball, that's a fact. Out and 3 strikes, then you're out, and then send the guy back to third is kind of the penalty for the interference. He did get interfered with, but it was dumb how he kind of he leaned forward into it to try to get the pitch. I get it, but just dumb luck is really what it was. Tuesday, however, tonight's game. Come on, we had this phenomenal Bucks game. We had Pat Bev telling everybody they were too small in Visor, and then we had this game where Jose Siri hits a home run. Let everybody know about it. Next time, right, or he's up in the 5th, 6th, rather, with Freddie Peralta pitching, and then 3-0 count, sets up inside, and right, we see the hit by pitch on the inside, right. It was a low hit by pitch. Contreras was catching. Contreras does set up inside. Look, I want to kind of break down how I felt about it. So it was 3-0 count. My opinion ends up being more okay. If they wanted to do something, they should have did warnings. I know people hate warnings. I get it. But you should not eject a guy after his first hit by pitch of the game being that in 3-0 count. It's still Freddie Peralta. He's not George Kirby. He's not this precise a pitcher when it comes down to that. He could get suspended. I would appeal totally in this scenario, but Siri did let everybody know he had a home run, and that ended up kind of causing some issues there. Where again, Peralta next time out, he does hit him. That's a fact. He does get hit. I would say that should have been nothing there. Maybe if a manager comes out and asks the crew to get together, they have to get together. Sometimes in these scenarios, they have to get together automatically, is what baseball wants. So I understand that too. I get they want to do something, but I would prefer nothing. However, I would live with the warnings, but that would make everybody mad. The ejection makes one side mad, and doing nothing makes one side mad. So, you know what I mean? Like the Rays are mad if one side happens. Warnings, both guys are mad because now Rays are like, okay, we didn't do anything. Why are we getting penalized? And then the Brewers are like, and the Brewer side is more of, oh, so now my guy can't pitch inside kind of thing, as is the Rays. So kind of one of those scenarios you hate to see, but it was just really frustrating. Peralta getting ejected for that, and then Pat Murphy letting Chris Guccione know, and of course Guccione had to let him know. That was something, a good old fashioned ump show is what I would say. You see that Abner Uribe, then they get Siri out, have some words, both talk. Uribe does throw the first shove per se. It was like a punch, but like a flying hand. We'll see John Boy break it down, but it was like a flying hand kind of thing. And Siri fires back. They both do. It's going to be suspensions on both parties. If they end up deeming, well, okay, Murphy's going to get suspended probably just with the nature of Peralta. It'll be a game probably for him, game for Peralta. I would assume both appeal. Peralta might win this appeal. I don't know. It doesn't really, being a starting pitcher doesn't really matter too much. And then on the reliever side, Abner Uribe, he's going to get some games. I would assume it's going to start high. They'll appeal, get down to like 3 or 4. He'll be suspended. Siri will too. Siri will probably get around there or less. He might get less because he wasn't the aggressor per se, even though he actually was. Right, if you go back, as he was the one who first showboated that home run. However you want to involve with that. We still got a game tomorrow. There's still baseball tomorrow for this, so we'll see how that goes. But there's going to be suspensions, is the reality of it. This kind of all overshadowed. Willie Adames had a beautiful 3-run home run. But also Tyler Black gets called up. Owen Miller option. Tyler Black comes in because Gary Sanchez exits with an injury. Hopefully Gary's okay. They pulled Eric Haas as a precautionary thing in AAA, so he might be coming up already. But my point is, Sanchez exits. Black comes in. Tyler Black, who I've been a fan of since the Brewers drafted him in the second round. He is a second baseman. I used to remember the college. I don't now. But 2 for 4 he was with a double. With Black, you just saw the bat speed already tonight. He's got a quick bat. There might be some swing and miss. No strikeouts tonight. There has been some swing and miss in his game, but he's just got a quick bat. He can get the bat head to the ball, and he's going to be a great player for the Brewers. And I'm glad he has not had an opportunity to make his debut tonight. Unfortunately, it came from the Sanchez injury, but hopefully he can give the Brewers some productive at bats. As Owen Miller has been just kind of streaky. It's been the Owen Miller, type. Playing okay for some bit, playing good, and then playing not so good. Blake Perkins is coming back to earth. We already had that. His average now has plummeted 266. I haven't talked about Joey Ortiz. He's the thumbnail. Ortiz had a big weekend. Has really stepped it up. The discipline's been there. Another walk tonight. Gets on base. His OPS is right around 800. It's been the Bryce Terrain show so far this year. 2 hits tonight, both on lefties, 3 RBIs, 1 walk. Somehow Terrain, I don't know how he did it, but I'm intrigued to hear kind of what some interviews about this with Terrain is. Kind of how, the glaring thing for him was 2 things. The swing and miss, right? Swing and miss everywhere was 1. But 2 was, not being able to hit lefties. It was just an inability to hit lefties effectively. And he's he's dealt with both of those and has been actually now effective against lefties, but then also has actually put together some really nice stats without the whole strikeout thing. It's been kind of crazy to see. Terrain only has 14 strikeouts. I say only. He has, and Joey Ortiz is known for his discipline. He's 2 more only than Ortiz. For reference, Contreras is 26. Hoskins is 23. It's been really, really good from what we've seen from him so far this year, Terrain. So that's kind of where we've been is that. But then the pitching's been thin. We know that. Wade Miley, Tommy John, that's been the story. Tobias Myers has been a starter now, getting him, and he's the guy who can miss barrels. And that's kind of what he's been effective at. His other stats, like his FIP and other pitch indicators, say he's been kind of lucky, which kind of has been true too, as he's not getting the swing and miss per se. But it's going to come down to Harris, or really Tobias Harris, no, Tobias Myers, and it's going to come down to really Colin Ray holding this back end up. That we need these guys to step up. And they have. Joe Ross also, we need him to actually step up. He has not been performing well. So that's what we're going to see. Bryce Wilson, I haven't talked about, who was a starter in his time in Pittsburgh, emerging in the starting role now. Pitched well last year out of the bullpen, made a couple spot starts. They're going to have to leverage him back as a starter. I'm fine with it. I can live with it. And that's what we're going to see. So the rest of the week here, again, we have Rays for a game. Then a well-deserved off day finally on Thursday. 3 games this weekend then. Finally against the Cubs. We finally get to see Craig Counsell. We get to see him Friday at 1:20. You get to say hi to him. You can tell him that you missed him, and you get to see him for 3 games. 1:20, 1:20, and 1:20. That's all I got here on this late night edition of Drew Sports Crew. At Drew Sports Crew, all the content wherever, again, rankings and so on. You can find it at Drew Sports Crew, Instagram, X, TikTok, Drew Sports Crew, YouTube, and Facebook. That'll wrap it up here for myself, Drew Skybrick, here on this Tuesday night. Thank you all for listening to another episode of Drew Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.